Not so fast, my friend. I've got a special little surprise for you. And welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's SWGOH video is going to be on Masterful modding. This is again a video in a series of videos about modding. Specifically today we're going to be looking at speed. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so we're going to be breaking down our top 10 teams, and then I have some bonus content for you at the end here. Some bonus characters that I think would be a good idea but aren't as essential for you to have speed on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start with our first one. And by the way, I just want to point out these are not in any particular order. They're just 10 really great characters to have speed on, and I would argue it is essential that you have speed on them. Also, little forewarning, none of this is related to Galactic Legends. They're all a whole other video in itself. So number one, we've got Admiral Piet. So for those of you that don't know, Admiral Piet is the train that starts this Imperial Trooper ridiculous bonanza that can beat so many teams. They were pretty good before, but they were still kind of a niche thing where, you know, they worked with Night Sisters and that was about it. When they brought Piet into the game, man, between him and Dark Trooper, they just shot up a whole nother level, and they can beat so many different teams. As you saw in the opening intro, they're great against Darth Revan teams. It's a great Darth Revan counter. I try to use it all the time. If my Bounty Hunter secret team doesn't work, by the way, if you want to check out that, check out the video up above to see how I work on that one. It's a budget team that slaps. It's a great video. Anyway, with this particular character, you just want loads and loads and loads of speed on him. You can see I have a whole bunch of different speed mods on him. I'm not going to show you the details of them, but I've got him at 342, which for a player at my level is extremely fast. He is one of the fastest characters that I have in the game. When you couple him under Revere's lead, that gets him up to 362. He's going to beat a lot of different teams that are out there. And then once he gets his turn, he boosts the entire rest of the team, and they just start that turn meter train and they can't get caught. So amazing character by itself. But man, when you get him loaded up on speed, can't touch that team. It's so good. Character number 2, Darth Revan. Ooh, fancy lightsaber effects there. So with Darth Revan here, we've got him needing lots and lots of speed. I would argue that Dark Bastila is kind of a 1A and 1B to Darth Revan. They both need speed. Ideally, they're as close together as you can get them, but Darth Revan is really what cripples the opposing team. If he can get out ahead of the opposing team, and they basically start just kind of taking off. Now, they are not so much a turn meter train team like the troopers are. They're just a speed team. And if he gets going, not only does he stop the other team from being able to take turns, but also his team continues to gain more and more speed. So it's really important that you have him loaded up with speed. You can see I don't have my best speed mods on him at this point, but I have him fast enough that he's relatively functional at 315. Actually, you can see that with the plus 141, he's pretty on par with my Piet. It just happens that, you know, 163 Piet just happens to be, in my opinion, a more important character in terms of speed. Darth Revan, my team here is jacked. Plus, I have Malgus, so he doesn't need to be as fast anymore as he used to be. But if you're running Darth Revan-led Sith Empire, you definitely want loads of speed on him. Next up, kind of the same vein here, is Jedi Knight Revan. If you're running a Jedi Knight Revan lead team, you definitely want lots of speed on him. He gets that whole train running. Now, this train is a little bit different than the other two that we've talked about. So there is not a true turn meter train here in terms of either the team getting fed turn meter or keeping the other team from taking turns and gaining speed, similar to Darth Revan. What this team does is it basically uses Grandmaster Yoda. And when you get Jedi Knight Revan out and you're able to attack the most important character of the opposing team, which is what his kit allows you to do, it allows you to really kind of cripple the other team and just constantly feed turn meter to Grandmaster Yoda. So again, this is kind of a 1A, 1B situation where with Darth Revan, you really needed Bastila Shan Fallen to be right next to him. It's a similar situation here with Grandmaster Yoda. If you're running Grandmaster Yoda under his leadership, you want your GMY to be relatively fast, almost as fast as Jedi Knight Revan. That or you need your Jolie to be fast, one of the two, so that way you can kind of feed them turn meter. This is definitely a turn order based team. You want to have it clocked the right way for it to really be effective. But again, speed is important. You can see my mods on him again are not amazing. He's at 301 speed. It's functional for me. I really don't need him to be insanely fast anymore for what I use him for. But again, speed is definitely important for him. Next up, Kyle Katarn. Unfortunately, this is one I don't have super well modded or leveled up at this point. I am working on him currently, and I can't wait to get him fully maxed out. He's going to be amazing. So the reason you want loads of speed with him, one, he's going to gain a ton of bonus turn meter. And two, when he starts going, that train under Mon Mothma just keeps on going. He is essentially the Piet to the Mon Mothma team. If you have him really fast, he's going to get that turn meter train started. The more speed he has, the more fast he becomes because of him gaining 25% turn meter. So it's a really important character to get speeded up as fast as you can. You can see, even though I haven't really, I mean, obviously I don't have all of my big stuff on him yet because I'm still working on him, I already have a speed set on him. So I'm already preaching my message, or following my message here, simply because he's so important to have speed with. All right, next up, Mara Jade. Man, I love her. I just got her relicked up to Relic 5, and even though it may not look it, I am working heavily on her mods. You can see I've kind of started the mod upgrade process with her. She, again, similar to Piet and Kyle Katarn, she starts the turn meter train for the Empire. You can see I've got her at 341 plus 149, which is pretty good for me. Anything for me around that 150 mark is a very high speed number for me. With her, if she is able to go first, she puts tenacity down on everybody, which also gives her massive amounts of turn meter. She takes another turn, inflicts a ton of debuffs, and at that point, your Empire team is off and running. Like, they are already full-fledged turn meter loaded, and they're just going to run rampant on the opposing team. She will also work against a tenacity up-based team. For instance, Jedi Knight Revan, who we just mentioned earlier, was originally a big counter to the Empire-led, or the Palpatine-led Empire team. When Mara Jade came out, she totally neutered that. That's one of the reasons why, for instance, I don't have my Jedi Knight Revan as fast anymore. He has his places on offense, in my opinion, but on defense, Mara Jade is just going to obliterate him. She's super duper important and had to have loads and loads of speed on. All right, so that's our top 5. Again, I shouldn't say top 5. These are just in no particular order. Next up, we have Rex. Rex is super important to have loads of speed on because he really starts your team, your 501st team, in terms of them getting going under a gas lead. Personally, I actually have ARC Trooper loaded up to be faster than him, but that's because it's a very specific counter that I use. Generally speaking, you're going to want Rex to be the fastest. He's going to give everybody else turn meter. He's going to give everybody else tenacity up. And then your team's just going to be able to come out and slap super duper hard. So again, loads of speed on him. I'll get to show you guys some of my base stats on this. So I've got him at 152 plus speed. So again, he's pretty fast for me. That's a very fast number on my end. Next up, Resistance Hero Finn. You can see I do not have him fully upgraded yet. I'm not going to take him up until I actually work on GL Ray, which will be a long time because I hate the prequels. Sorry guys if you love the prequels. No, nothing against you. But ideally you have him as the fastest person on your Resistance team because he really gets the whole Spark of Resistance train started essentially and spreads that to his handbag bro and then he spreads it around to the rest of the team. If you can get that working, this Resistance team becomes very strong compared to if you didn't have him getting up and running ahead of the other team. So again, really great character to have speed mods on. You can see I do have speed mods on him, just not my maximized stuff since he is not really a maximized character at this point for me. Moving on, Echo. Now this is not the 501st Echo. This is the Bad Batch Echo. Super important to have speed on him. In fact, far more than anybody else on the team because similar to kind of Darth Revan to some degree. So he's going to get the rest of the team running like Darth Revan does in two ways. One, he's potentially going to give your team turn meter. And two, he's going to keep the opposing team from getting turn meter. So what he does is he comes out, he removes all buffs, he dazes the opposing team. So if they were to gain any bonus turn meter for any reason, he negates that. And then 2, when he removes those buffs, the rest of the Bad Batch team gains a ton of turn meter based on how many buffs are removed, which basically means that you can get Tech to take the very next turn, even if Tech is significantly slower than Echo, which mine pretty much is. My Tech is not super great. He's not even relicked at this point. But because my Echo is so fast, because he's so effective, I can still really beat a lot of teams on offense with him modded the way he is. And you can see I do have some pretty strong mods on him. You can see he's a 143. So again, just short of kind of my ideal numbers of the plus 150, but pretty good nonetheless. I think if I were to take my Bad Batch up to all relic levels, I would really work a lot harder on that to get that over 150. All right, next up, Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon is great. Unlike Piet, he does not boost the turn meter of your team. But what he does do is he completely removes turn meter from the opposing team. Plus, not to mention the fact that he reduces their offense significantly. So if you run Moff Gideon under a Piet, or not a Piet lead, sorry, under a Veers lead with Admiral Piet, you have a combination for some ridiculous turn meter train action between Piet boosting turn meter and Moff Gideon removing turn meter. Now you can see mine is only gear 12, unfortunately. My trooper team is functional as it is with him only at gear 12. He's going to be one of my side projects eventually because I would like to get him up to relic levels and boost that speed some more. So as a result, you're going to see his speed is not insanely great. It's only at plus 128. It is effective though under Piet. With the turn meter boost that we get from Piet, he's able to work very, very well under that team. All right, next up we have Dash Rendar. Dash is super important to have speed on simply because of his opening Seeker Missile special. You get him out in front of the opposing team, he's going to daze them, he's going to remove all buffs. It's very similar to like an Echo, for instance. The difference is that Echo will boost the turn meter of your team. Dash basically just completely neuters the opposing team. So a lot of similarities, but just not quite identical. You can see that currently I did just get him to 7 stars. So you can kind of see my progression towards Star Killer here. I got Mara Jade, got her loaded up. Now I'm working on Dash Rendar, and I started the farming process on Kyle Katarn. With him, obviously not a gear 13. He doesn't have a maximized speed yet. He's at a plus 102. But that's something that I very much intend on working on in the very near future and getting that bumped up significantly so that he's up around the 140, 150 mark. All right, so that takes us through our top 10. Now, those top 10, I would argue, are essential in needing speed. You must have speed on them. Our next 5, the bonus content that I talked to you guys about, these are ones that really benefit from speed, but it's not necessarily a must-have. Kat, so Commander Ahsoka Tano, the reason she is so important to have speed on is because the more turns she takes, the more powerful she becomes, essentially. So again, it's not essential to have speed. She's not benefiting the rest of their team necessarily, but she is going to go more frequently. She's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and put out more and more damage because of that. The next 2 are kind of a tie together, depending on if you have the Omicron or not on Zam. So Bosk, it's important that he is tanky first and foremost, in my opinion, but ideally you want him to have loads of speed. So you'll see, for instance, actually with both of these, with Kat, I do have speed mods on her pretty heavily. But with Bosk, I don't have speed mods because I do have some really good tanky mods with loads of speed that I have put on him, and that gets him up at a pretty decent clip. So you can see he's a plus 135. That's nothing to scoff at. But the reason they're tied together is because with Zam's Omicron, if you get Zam up to pretty high speeds, and you can see I do have her very well modded in terms of speed, then that boosts Bosk even more. She's at 113 at the moment. Which is not insane, but it's a good number for what I'm looking for. Most of these are gold, actually, because of the other bonus stats that she gives to everybody. But basically, long story short, with her having lots of speed, Bosk goes from 306 to 366 for me with her Omicron. Super duper important. Next, the Armorer. Depending on how you use the Armorer, you can either use her under a Maul-led Mandalorian team, or you can use her in conjunction with C. In either case, you're probably going to want her to be modded with a lot of speed so that she is the first person taking a turn. Under a C lead with Thrawn specifically, she goes first. Thrawn immediately swaps turn meter, and then she's able to give all of her Beskar to C. Under a Maul lead, she takes her first turn, feeds all that turn meter to Maul because of Frenzy. He does his AoE, which leads to... oh, I'm totally blanking on his name right now. Which leads to Canderous, there we go, gaining a whole bunch of turns, which also then... or turn meter, I should say, and then also causes Maul to take another turn, etc., etc. Again, you can look at the details of that team in other videos, but super important to have speed on her. Not essential, but very good. And then last but not least is Watt. Again, not super essential. You can see I do have speed mods on both of these guys. The faster Watt goes, basically, the faster he gets all of his tech gear out to everybody. So super important to have speed on him. Not as essential as our top 10 were, but definitely beneficial. All right, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, I would encourage you to give it a like. Also, if you want to catch more content that I'm putting out, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss anything in the future. Well, I shouldn't say last but not least. If you do want to check out any of the other videos in this series, feel free to check out the cards at the end for the Masterful modding series. And then last but not least, if you guys would like to catch the GAC matches and all other content over on Twitch, I'll have the links down below for you. All right, everybody, catch you next time.